Today we're going to build and save a recipe in Chef's food cost calculator. A recipe is a finished item you want to cost, price, and reuse later. For this example, we're building chicken Alfredo pasta. I already created the Alfredo sauce batch, so now I can use that batch inside this recipe instead of rebuilding the sauce from scratch. Now I'm in the calculator. Each line works the same way. Search for a saved ingredient or batch, enter the amount used in the recipe, choose the unit, and add it to the build. I'll start by adding the Alfredo sauce batch. For one pasta, I'm using 3/4 cup of Alfredo sauce. Because this is saved as a batch, the app already knows the batch cost per cup. I don't have to rebuild the sauce every time I use it in a recipe. That's one of the main reasons batches are useful. If I use this same Alfredo sauce in pasta, chicken Alfredo, or another menu item, I can keep using the same saved batch. Next, I'll add the fettuccine pasta. For one portion, I'm using 4 ounces of pasta. This should be the amount used in the recipe, not the amount purchased. The app uses the ingredient cost from the library to calculate what this portion actually costs. And I'll add Parmesan cheese. For this recipe, I'm using 1/2 ounce of Parmesan. Small ingredients still matter. Cheese, garnish, spices, oils, and sauces can add up quickly, especially across a full menu. Now I'll add parsley. For this example, I'm using 0.1 ounces of parsley. This is a small garnish amount, but I still want it included so the recipe cost is more complete. Before moving on, I'll take a quick look at the items I added and make sure the quantities look right. If everything looks good, let's move to the yield section. Yield means what this recipe produces after it's made. This recipe makes 1 portion, so I'll enter 1 and choose portion as the yield unit. This tells the app that the total recipe cost is also the cost for 1 finished plate. Next, I'll move to waste. Waste is optional, but it can help make recipe costing more realistic. For this recipe, I'll enter 1% waste. That small amount can help account for little things like sauce left in the pan or product left behind during prep. Now I'll enter the sell price. For this example, I'll use $18 per portion. Since this recipe makes 1 portion, the sell price is easy to understand. The app can compare the cost of 1 plate against the price I plan to sell that plate for. The sell price helps calculate food cost percentage and profit. Now before I save the recipe, I can use Simulate Sell Price. This lets me test different menu prices without changing the actual sell price I entered. If I move the slider up or down, I can preview how the food cost and profit change. I can also tap Preview Suggested Price to see the price based on my target food cost preset. This helps me compare my current sell price against the app's suggested price. The original sell price stays the same unless I tap Apply Price. For this example, I'll keep the recipe at $18 and move on to the summary. Here I can review the final numbers before saving the recipe. I can see the total cost, cost per portion, food cost percentage, suggested price, profit, and target food cost. The suggested price is based on the target food cost preset. Once the summary looks good, I'll tap Save. Next, I'll enter the recipe name. For this example, I'll name it Fettuccine Alfredo. The recipe name is what will show in my saved recipe library, so I want it to be simple and easy to recognize. Then I'll choose a category. I'll select Main Dishes, since this is an entree. Now I'll do one quick check to make sure the name and category look right. If everything looks good, I'll tap Save Recipe. After I tap Save Recipe, the dialog closes and I'm back on the calculator screen. Now I'll go to the Recipes page to review what I just saved. Here I can see the Fettuccine Alfredo recipe in my recipe library. I'll open the recipe details. On the Detail page, I can review the full recipe information in one place. I can see the ingredients used, I can scale a recipe, and see a summary of food cost percentage and the profit. From there, I'll click Add Image. This lets me upload a photo for the recipe. Adding an image makes the recipe easier to recognize later, especially when the recipe library starts to grow. After adding the image, I'll open Edit Recipe. This is where I can make changes if something needs to be updated later. For example, I can adjust ingredients, quantities, yield, waste, sell price, or category. This is useful when ingredient costs change, portions need to be adjusted, or the menu price needs to be updated. For this tutorial, I'm not going to change anything. Now I'll go back to the recipe details page. From here, I'll open the More Options menu using the 3 dots in the corner. This menu gives me extra actions for the saved recipe. This is where I can take action on the recipe after it has already been created. I can download the recipe if I want to copy outside the app. I can use Share if I need to send the recipe information to someone else. I can change the photo if I want to replace the image with a better one later. I can remove the photo, and I can delete the recipe if I no longer need it in my recipe library. These options help me manage the recipe after it has been saved. Now I'll head back to the recipes page. This brings me back to the recipe library, where I can see the saved fettuccine Alfredo recipe. From here, I can open it again anytime, review the costing, update the recipe, or use it as part of my menu and planning workflow. That's how to build, save, review, and manage a recipe in Chef's food cost calculator. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you understand how recipes work and how saved batches can be used inside finished menu items.